hi Bhavy, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, as?
I'm good, thank you. How was your week?
It has been great. Did some good projects. Had some nice working time. How was your week?
Yeah, it was good. Like the same office routine, and then today's weekend, so we are just shooting a video. Thanks for giving the time today.
I appreciate that.
So we'll start like in this segment. We'll discuss about the ERP systems and its implementation in the modern business. So to start with, can you please explain what's the ERP in the layman term and how it's helpful in the for business?
So, in traditional businesses, before the computers came and everything happened, uh, where I'm coming from in India, people used to use different kinds of bookkeeping methods, like for accounting, sales, finance, purchases, and that's how they used to manage their operation. But upon digital revolution, there are a lot of things can be done and kept in one place so that you can manage your operations very easily. For example, if you're using accounting and you make it a good spreadsheet in Excel, and that's one way of managing and creating ERP. But exactly, ERP is managing your entire company's operation and it in one place, so that your entire operation from sales to purchase to finance to accounting to inventory, that's all are in one place, and making it as uniform as possible.
Okay, so how it's impacting the revenue as well, or helping in scaling the businesses?
So it doesn't have any number that in terms of revenue, but definitely it helps an organization in terms of scalability. It gathers the entire data in one server or one storage drive or one place, so that it makes a data processing for like us who are like into analytics and data science stuff a lot easy. And most importantly, uh, in terms of scalability and in decision making, it is a very good it is very good solution.
Okay, so if you compare that with, have you ever used SharePoint?
Yes, I have used
So if you
SharePoint.
compare the ERP thing with the SharePoint, then how it's different?
So SharePoint is basically a storage where you store files, but ERP is something that is designed to do specific operations. So for example, ERP has different modules. That's how they separate from each other. So for example, if you look at the sales module, it has from ideally the sales cycle is something like you give out code to your customers. Then you put, if that goes through, you put an order, then you put delivery, then you provide them invoice upon delivery and stuff. So that entire process is done smoothly in that segment. But if I want to compare with my sales and inventory data, I don't really have to go to two different places or two different departments to gather that data. I can, by sitting on my system, I can simply go and access the entire like sales and any other. It could be inventory, it could be finance, any. I can do it, compare it, and I can make a report combining multiple departments, and I don't really have to go to people and ask around. Okay. And make informed decisions quickly.
Got it. And actually, how do you implement the ERP system? Like, what tool you use, or how do you?
So I have essentially been working in SAP Business One, which was an Israeli product which was acquired by SAP in early 2000. And so SAP Business One is for MSME companies. So ideally what they use is, first of all, there is a team of consultants who are ideally who are certified or who have a good experience in terms of implementation. They go to a customer, they try to understand how the entire business works, because every business has a unique or has a little bit of different business processes to suit their needs. So first of all, a team of customer goes to the customer, meets with them, have a look at their current system to understand how they are doing their day-to-day operations, and they try to make it in line with SAP current modules. But on the contrary, SAP also have, specifically SAP and I think other ERP systems as well, they also have room for customization to suit the business need. Because you can get a ready out of the box system with SAP, Oracle, with the large organizations, which has ready operations, which can be start using as soon as possible. It doesn't have involved a lot of development, but yes, it has customizable option to make it through your business. But on the contrary, there are also other organizations and companies which are relatively small. They actually come and design the entire ERP based on your system from scratch. So there are two aspects of it. So it depends which side are you going on. But let's just focus for the SAP and out of the box solutions. So they first try to, after going there, they're like researching, analyzing their current business model. They come up with a system. They try to adopt through SAP or any other which they have chosen, and they try to, as long it's sort of mainly trial and error. But after a point, you just start to block the entire processes, and at the very end, you try to test run a system which involves entire operation at once, entire business operations at once, and see what's going on. And then basically you go live. And then as soon as you go live, for a couple of first months, there is a support which is being provided by consultants with if there is come in any errors, if something is not working and something like that. And on the other hand, the users are new to the system as well. And we all know how change management is little tough to manage, and it's very hard. So the consultants provide user training as well throughout the implementation. So in terms of in terms of user training and go live and testing, the entire process is smooth line and it goes on automatic mode. And we'll only touch when there is some serious issue or serious change needs to be made.
So you mentioned about like you usually use SAP to implement the ERP system. So just around like a question, like do we require a coding knowledge to implement those in SAP or?
Yes and no. Fundamentally, I'll talk about specifically about SAP. SAP has a different type of product lines. So for example, R3, which is a legacy systems, S4 HANA, which is current cutting edge cloud system, Business One, which I'm working on. There is something called Business Object, which is a relatively smaller scale ERP system for very small businesses which are starting out right now. So there are product lines, something like that. But if you look at one thing general, you would require coding to create an ERP, but you don't really need coding knowledge or know how to code physically. Because there is a separate technical team and separate functional team. So separate functional teams expertise are in understanding a business. Because as long as you would move your business and digitalize them essentially for an ERP, you would require accounting, financial, supply chain knowledge, which we are not being taught in IT degree. So those are functional skills, and those would require functional expertise. And other is a technical side of it, which requires about like creating the entire app and customizing through the SOP which is being made by the functional. SOP is sort of a document which is prepared by functional consultant or whoever is basically leading the entire project to document the entire business process step by step. So that goes on a sign off phase that is signed off before actually implementing the entire system and start the development. Before starting them, like any usual web development project, you would require a documentation about it. So that's essentially it. And mainly, so there are skills you don't really need. So for example, functional consultant, you don't really need to know how to code. You should be able to understand the process, know where's and how's. If there are any laws involved in terms of finance and accounting, you should know, because there is something called chart of accounts, where we assign accounts for each expenses and that sort of thing. So they would require knowledge of law. So that's basically accounting and finance. So that's like MBA maybe. That's the MBA. So that's one route. Another route is for us like IT graduates. that requires hardcore development. So after the documentation is ready, you need to actually build that product and customize it. So that is done with the code. It is essentially not simple, but it's not very hard as well. Like creating an app like Snapchat or something like that. Those are it requires the basic operations. Rather, and how do I say it? That when the development is done, there are a few testers as well. That essentially that depends on the customer budget as well, because these aren't considered as a job, like a product based company. These are project based things. So that also strictly involves budget in them as well. But if you for example, if you are in a function side of it, and you know a little bit about coding and everything, that makes your job very efficient, and the developer who's in your team, you can smoothly ask him to do certain things. And basically it's like, if you know both, little bit of both, it helps you a lot in projects. And it makes you a very useful and very important resource.
Okay, cool. Thank you for that. So generally, what factors any organization or an individual should consider while selecting any ERP systems or any kind of a vendor?
That is a very interesting question, and it's a pain point of almost all the businesses, and that decides how are you going to approach the ERP. First of all, an organization should identify their problems, that what main problem their focus is on. So for example, every ERP is good in a way. It has entire operations in them. Every ERP can do entire operations smoothly, but every ERP has like ups and like small key points, which is their core competence. So for example, SAP is very, very efficient and very good in manufacturing line. But on the other hand, Oracle takes the charge when it's like a pharmaceutical company. So for example, if you are trying to choose an ERP, first of all you need to decide how is your current operation going on, what are the pain points of their operation, and how do you want to do it. So that's one part. Another part is, what's your budget? That essentially is main part, because it's almost money. Then another part is, how are you looking the ERP, and how are you looking the business in next 5 years? Okay. And there are and since I have just started working there, I'm sort of a baby. I've been working there for like 6-7 years now. Okay. So I'm also learning every day. So I may miss few points, but these are essentially main topics to deciding in ERP. And main thing is, what are your other vendors using? So for example, in every ERP there are also features like you can actually integrate ERP to ERP between vendors, which makes your entire which works in direction of making your entire operation paperless, which is good for environment as well. Correct. So so if your other vendors are using a certain ERP, let's say SAP, then it makes your job very easy to choose that sort of complementing ERP in terms of that. So these are essentially main topics which you need to address first. But there are also little bit small topics like, how is that ERP support in your current region? How is that ERP doing? What is that ERP's future goals? Everything like that.
So as you mentioned, like you are working from 6 to 7 years in this SAP segment. So what's the how it has been changed from the past 6 to 7 years, and what's the current trend at the moment, like globally?
Yes. So SAP has started in way back in 90s. It was one of the earliest ERP. It was very successful. Almost it has been leading major chunk of ERP. Major chunk of big customers like giants are using that ERP, like Reliance, Adani. Those are very big companies from India, which the company I used to work for was also doing projects, other projects in it, which I was not involved, but I was aware of that they have been dealing in that area as well. But coming from being that old and that giant as an SAP, so they started moving towards cloud. Now every earlier legacy systems were based on on-premise server, so that would have higher cost, higher you need staff to maintain, you need staff for support, everything like that, and you need staff on premise because the entire service is on premise, and due to security purposes, many corporation doesn't allow you to be access it from outside. So I did in these days, every major ERP and whoever is connected to that area are trying to move to cloud where they can do seamless connection. And one more point I forgot to add, while choosing that ERP, your integration also matters. So there are some tools which you have been previously using or you are planning to using to integrate with your business and make it improvement. So say for example, if you are using Salesforce CRM already, and you would look for an ERP which is compatible to your Salesforce CRM, because that is your earliest process and it should work with it. Not you need to create the entire solution from scratch. So now coming back to the topic. So being this huge company is moving towards a cloud and company, they have I think back in 2000s they launched S4 HANA, SAP Fiori, those sort of ERP, not exactly ERP, but those sort of database structures and languages to complement, to move towards the cloud and to compete with Microsoft Azure and Oracle PCR, Oracle ERP and something like that. So that's one thing. Everybody is moving towards clouds and open integration, multiple third-party software integration. Like I'm sure you've been using Power BI at your workplace. A lot of people Power BI, Tableau, Click Analytics. Even SAP has their own SAP Lumira, which is coming with a refreshed version in I think in 2024 or something like that. But they have also providing support and integration to third-party software as well, which is very good and very beneficial for consumers because they have options. And they have also partnered. I recently read that they have also partnered with Microsoft Azure for the servers and infrastructure support, which is amazing because both of them are giants in their own domain.
Yeah, correct. I have one question. Like, if someone wants to become a ERP consultant, can you shed some light on the role, like how the role looks like and what the basic skills required to become one?
Yes. So I will first loosely tell how I became ERP consultant. Then we can talk about how someone in today's Indian. So I did my final year master's final year project on ERP. I designed a vendor management portal on SAP UI5 somewhere around 2010. So that's how I got to know what is actually ERP, what are the operations, and how it is work in a business on a ground level. So that's how I got interested to it, and then I always had a knack for data and how the data is being managed and stored. So coming from a technical background, I started in data analytics mainly. So I used to design reports and make dashboards and help and basically support stuff in terms of SAP Business One ERP. But as I grew in that career, I started to learn, and I would actually like to thank my previous company about that. They used to hold trainings for functional as well. So I took an interest. I also took part in functional training. So that's how, coming from a technical background and designing add-ons and reports and dashboards, I also started taking part in functional training, which helped me to understand how the functional area and setup area works. So that made me that gave me an edge over the consultant who stayed in like technical and functional consulting. and that's how I became quote unquote technical and functional consultant, which is called techno functional consultant. And then once you get enough experience, I was I was part of implementation team, and we did. I've been part of probably upwards of 7 to 8 end-to-end projects, which involves from starting initial meeting to go live support, and that's loosely my career path so far. But let's talk about how can someone become an ERP consultant. It is fairly easy to become one, because once you either would have a functional degree like MBA or something, like any accounting or any financial degrees, or either if you're coming from a technical background, I think you should start from that side, and that's you need to build up on that and become competent in that skill, and then you always try to learn the other side. So that would have two benefits. Initially, it would be advantage for your team members which are working within team, because that would make the communication easier, and that would also help you if you are in a front, or if you're in a customer client facing, or if you're in a project side, you would be able to understand how the system works. So for example, a developer doesn't really go to the on-site. They work from the organization's headquarters, and they develop, and the functional would do it. But for example, if the functional is aware of the technicalities and how things have been done, he would be able to explain better to the customer, and who wouldn't have to do any any mishaps in projects, or any false promises, or something which cannot be done, and he would have, which we see in projects a lot. So that would help them either. But in all, I would say, first of all, if you're coming from either of that background, try to build a competence, try to build up an edge, and then if you're working great on it, try to learn the other side. And that would make you a wholesome consultant, and that would also help you to gain knowledge, and you would be able to do a lot of things.
Okay, so this is the last question. I don't want to take your much time. So, any final advice would you like to give to someone who is at a junior level at the moment, like who is just like trying to break into the industry and just completed his or her studies? So, what's your advice?
Like I am fairly young to give out an advice, as I am growing as well. But I would strongly say to anybody who is trying to break into the market, it's hard, but it's not impossible. Just stick to your strengths, work on that over time, and eventually you'll get there. Like, say for example, I have done my bachelor's and masters of IT from India. Then I did work for three years as an SAP Business One ERP consultant, and then I did my data science degree from RMIT University. And if I see back, I was a very different person all throughout this period of my life. So you will always learn something new, and have the hunger to learn something new, and try to put yourself in a little bit uncomfortable situation, because it would be, you would feel bad, like hard for sometimes, but on a longer run, that would make you a amazing competent consultant, which can perform in every situation.
Okay. So yeah, that was my question for today. Again, thank you very much for the session today.
I
it was
appreciate
quite
that.
helpful. Yeah, thank you.
So much.